up, Code Agents? Real estate world. We've got a treat for you today. We've got Mark Kohler. I mean, this guy has titles that, I mean, it'll keep on going, Mark. Let's just stick to the most important ones for this one. You're an attorney, a CPA, but more importantly, you understand the stimulus package, and that's why you're here. We've got Howard Tager, CEO of Ylopo. He's brilliant. He's going to bring some great questions to you. And Josh Zollinger, who's our original connection to you, Mark. So thank you, Josh. He's a luxury agent out of Newport Beach. So let's get going, Mark. Thank you for doing this. Just so people understand who you are and what you do, what makes you an expert in this?
Well, thank you. And I know it's hard to, and sometimes do an introduction that makes people actually want to listen. So I'm a CPA and an attorney of 20 years, senior partner in an accounting firm and law firm. Got 5-6 books out on Amazon. I've got a national podcast with 1 million downloads. My YouTube channel's at 2 million views. And I'm just a small business owner, just like many of you. It sounds elaborate, but in our law firm and accounting firm, we've got about 40 employees here, 30 employees there, but I'm a Main Street American small business owner. I hate Wall Street. I love real estate. I own rental property myself. My daughter is a licensed agent. I speak at so many different real estate, realtor conferences. And so I feel like I can speak your language, and I love real estate. I teach all my clients to buy one rental property a year, and that's kind of unique to tax planning. But anyway, that's me. So the stimulus package is affecting all of us. And I want to say that's my introduction. So then I'll get rolling, and I just want to get into it. So sorry, Tristan.
Oh, you're on mute. I appreciate that. Well, let's get going. Let's just go with the first thing, man. How does this affect real estate agents? What should we be looking for first?
Oh, okay. Well, I've kind of got 7 pieces to this stimulus package that I want all of you to know a little about. And I think Howard made a good point at the beginning. He said, Mark, know your audience. There's a lot of people in different boats out here, some in yachts and some in a little, rowboat, and everybody's at different levels. And so I need to ask some of you that are maybe a brand new agent, you're getting exposed to this organization and you're just learning the ropes. Maybe you're a sole proprietor, you're just setting up your S Corp. And then I got brokers with 2,000 agents and a team, and they've been in business for 30 years. And everybody is going to get some benefit out of the stimulus package. And there's something for everybody. And so I need to ask everybody to be patient. We've got basic questions, we've got complex questions, and I'm going to do my best to make sure all of you stay excited and interested. That's one of my claims to fame, is I try to make taxes and legal sexy, but I did want to say my heart goes out to so many of you. I mean, this is tough. So many of us have been impacted negatively. Our business has been, but we're still trying to make a go of it. And I know many of you, this is extremely stressful. So I know at times I'll crack a joke or try to keep it lively, but I want you to know my heart goes out to many of you that are just scared to death of what the next few months look like. And this stimulus package is there to help us. That's what I think is interesting, Tristan, is back in 2007 and 8, it was let's bail out the banks. And then it was, the next go around, it was let's save corporate America with the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, and they got permanent tax relief while all of us got temporary. This is the first bill in history of $2 trillion, which is for us, the middle income, the small business owners of America. And I just think it's great, and I want to take advantage of every dollar I can, because we're going to end up paying for it, so you might as well get some. So.
Hey, Mark, I think it'd be helpful at the very beginning here if you do a top line review of the 7, right? And basically, if you can, if it makes sense, kind of match it to like, hey guys, when I talk about these 2 things, right? Solo agents, new agents, right? Pay particular attention to these. Hey guys, if you run a small team and you got maybe an employee or 2, pay particular attention to this. Hey guys, if you've got, 10, 15 employees, pay particular attention to this. And maybe that way we can, give your amazing knowledge to everyone, but they understand based on their size, like which particular thing of the 7 they should pay the most attention to.
All right, let's do that. And I want to give as much time to the PPP, which is the Paycheck Protection Program, which I know many of you are anxious to hear about. But there's a lot of pieces and parts that play into it. And so what I'm going to do is lay out these 7 topics, and which I think are a lot of, the first 5 or 6 are like low-hanging fruit. Now, this webinar, I did one very similar to this yesterday. It went 2 hours and 15 minutes. I do not want to go that long because I know many of you will pass out or want to shoot yourself in the head. So we're gonna try to burn through this quickly and do the best we can. I am going to save the loan issue as I talk about it. I'm going to introduce it and then really dive deep in it near the end, because I think the deep dive is it can be complex. So let's go through this in this way.
Also, Mark, the right side of your board, one of the attendees just pointed out, is a little bit cut off, the right side.
Oh yes, absolutely. Sorry. Thank you. Okay.
There you go.
All right. So here's our 7. Here's what we're going to talk about, people. First, I want to talk about the stimulus checks. A lot of people are asking, when do I get my check? Everybody might, based on your income level, I should say that. Not everybody's going to get a check. So let's break that down. Number 2, I want to talk about the SBA loan forbearance. And I want to change that name for a lot of people that are like, what are you talking about, SBA loan forbearance? So we're going to hit that for just 2 seconds. A lot of this, many of you can take a little more time to research this. I know Howard is just an expert on this. He's already drilling down on some of the unique items. We're going to talk about unemployment for a moment, paid leave, the FMLA, which is the Family Medical Leave Act. I want to hit retirement accounts and how we can access some quick cash with retirement accounts. And then we're going to dive into the biggie, which are these SBA loans. And there's 2 types of loans. There's the EIDL loan, or what we call the EIDL, or the PPP, the Paycheck Protection Program. Now, let me just give a quick couple examples here that are important. And I think I'll introduce these 2 loans out of the gate, and then we'll fill in around them. So, and I've tried to go at this so many different ways over the last 3 to 4 days, and there's different ways to go at it, but let's just do this. There are 2 loans out there that you can go get to help your business. Now, the first one is the EIDL. That's the Economic Injury Disaster Loan. Now, just to give you a quick purview of why this loan is pretty cool, and I think everybody should go after it, Howard, and here's why. If you've got a small business, now you've had to be in business by January 31st, January 15th, there's different dates thrown around, so I'm just going to say you've had to be in business this year. These are not loans to go out and start a new business. This is to get a loan for your business now. Now, what's cool about the EIDL is it's really been around a long time. This is the disaster relief loan that small business owners would get if they were in a hurricane or a flood or a California fire. They could go get a loan. Now, it's been enhanced under the stimulus package. Now, hang tight, everybody. What's cool about this is Donald Trump has signed the document that said the entire United States is a disaster area. Isn't that crazy? First time ever, right? So it's a disaster area. So if you have a small business, you can go get this EIDL. Now, what it is, now hang tight, this is important. You can get up to $2 million at 3.75% interest, 30-year term. Are you kidding me? We killed for that just a year ago, 6 months ago. So up to $2 million, 3.75% interest, 30-year term. You just have to show that your business has been economically impacted in some bad way because of coronavirus. The bankers that we've already been talking to are saying, write a 1 paragraph on this deal. Now, here's how it's been expanded. You can go right now, and I want to ask all of you, this is the first action item you can take. Go to sba.gov/disaster. And you can apply right there with your EIN. If you've only got a social security number, we're going to see how that goes. But I really like my clients as small businesses, large or small. This is everybody. I went and applied to this Sunday night in my S corp. You apply for this, you can get $10,000 right out of the gate. They say they will directly wire that within a week. Now, I have not seen my $10,000 yet, You're going to put in your bank account number for your business, the routing number, and you could get up to $10,000. Now, by the way, Tristan and Howard, Josh, I'm going to shut up here in a second and we can do some Q&A on this. Let me just get it out there. So you can get up to 10,000. That 10,000 can be forgiven if you use it for payroll, rent, or fixed debt obligations. Now, if you're using the PPP, and you can do both, you cannot get the 10,000 forgiven for an expense that you get forgiven under the PPP. Now, for some of you already out there that are geeking out on that, the payroll protection plan, you have to use in 8 weeks. After that, you could use this 10 grand. So this 10 grand can be forgiven on top of or in conjunction with the PPP. So we're going to come back to that. So everybody, just think about this for a minute. I can go apply right now online. I can get up to 10 grand right away. I can get this forgiven. And if I decide I want more, you can get up to 200 grand with no personal guarantee, no collateral, no real estate as collateral, business property, and you can have a prior bankruptcy and crappy credit. This is to go out and help small businesses get back on their feet. So that's the EIDL loan.
Dude,
what, Tristan?
That's insane. Do you have to be an LLC or get a DBA work? How does that work?
You could be an LLC, you could be a sole proprietor, you could be an S Corp. Now, what's cool about this, okay, I'm going to give more strategy here in a minute, but you could be any type of business. All right, so that's number one. That's the EIDL. Any other thought on that for a second?
Yeah, Mark. So I've seen conflicting information that where folks say you can't do both. You can't do the EIDL, and you're saying there's $2 million at 3.75, and also do the SBA through the SBA, do the PPP. What is the correct answer on that?
Where the misinformation comes in, Howard, is you can do both. What you can't do is use the same funds. You can't use the funds in both loans for the same thing. You can't go and say, oh, I want EIDL to pay for payroll, and then go get the PPP and pay for payroll and use EIDL for the same. You can't double down.
So for example, you could use EIDL to cover all of your software, hardware expenses, go use the PPP to cover your payroll, and then when it comes to the forgiveness, we haven't gotten to it yet, add in the rent and utilities and all that. But
That's
you could
exactly
do it
right.
that way and now cover all of the expenses of your business.
Yeah, how I see this, guys, is I want to use the EIDL for maybe some debt consolidation, some credit card payments, some operational expenses, some overhead, some cost of goods sold, maybe keep the business, keep the doors going. And then let's explain PPP. Let's get it on the table. Right,
Dude,
Howard?
Mark, that was Mark right there. That was huge. What you just dropped right there was huge. Bam. Oh.
Thank you, my fine sir. No, okay, whatever. Okay, now here's what's cool about the PPP. Okay, now the PPP stands for paycheck. Man, you're taking clothes off. I love it. All right. Okay.
I'm mute.
Here's how now all you realtors out there, all your agents, all you brokers, and I know there's people watching here that may have a restaurant, a manufacturing business, whatever. This is available to all small business owners. And like Tristan said, if you're a sole proprietor, you're going to apply under your social security number. I don't like that. I'd like all of you to have an EIN. I may even tell you, go get, but see, you can't go get a new EIN because you have to show that you were in business 2 months ago. This isn't for new business, to start a business. You got to say, I've been in business. So be careful. Okay, now here's how the PPP works. You can actually get up to 10 million, but what the maximum loan amount is 2.5. It is 2.5 times your monthly payroll. Okay, now that payroll definition is a big one. It's your payroll plus healthcare premiums paid for on behalf of your employees, any state or local taxes, which we would presume would be SUTA, state unemployment. It includes matching for retirement plans, sick pay, and vacation pay. So now, but what we found, Howard, it does not include FICA. So the FICA match is not included. So what your bankers are going to be asking for, and we've seen a draft of the PPP application. Now, and I'm going to take a little moment here to say this. Everybody, the rules, everybody's trying to figure this out almost hour by hour. Do not be mad at Mark Kohler or these amazing hosts of the show if you tomorrow find out a different rule or a different way of doing it. We're trying to bring you up-to-date, current information on this. And when you go to talk to your banker, I had this happen this morning, Tristan. I had a client come in and say, Mark, I took your info and I went to the banker and he said I can't do it. Okay, now are you going to trust someone that actually read the bill, is a CPA and attorney, or the banker that just graduated from college and went to a training last weekend in Duluth, Minnesota? Bankers, and I don't mean to be offensive, can have a stick up their butt and they only do what their boss tells them. So if you get the wrong answer from a banker, go somewhere else. Guys, this is your livelihood. Just because your banker says it's your way doesn't mean Mark Kohler's wrong. This is evolving quickly. The government's trying to help you, and you need to fight for this money and go to the banker that's going to help you. Tristan and Howard, any thoughts on that?
Look, I'm watching the questions. There's questions coming in on chat, and there's questions coming in Q&A. Tristan added me today because literally in the last week, I think I picked up a PhD in this stuff because it's so important to my business. Guys, I'm a small business owner, okay? I got a big payroll. My goal is to get through all of this mess without having to furlough or lay off a single person. That's my goal, okay? That's my fiduciary responsibility to my company, to my employees, my investors, okay? When I'm looking at all the questions coming in here, we apologize. There is no way. Mark, when I'm looking at the questions, dude, we would literally be on here for 5 hours because everybody's situation is so particular. We had somebody who owns a restaurant. They got multiple businesses, all that. We're going to have to give the top line. To get into the details, guys, you've got accountants, you've got lawyers, you've got the SBA lender at your bank. I've spoken to all of them, and as Mark just said, you will not get the same opinion or answer. I'll share something that's so crazy right now. I shared with Mark. If you go to SBA.gov or the Treasury Department's own writings, they give a loan term and an interest rate that is different than what's in the actual bill and the law. Okay, that's how crazy fast and confusing this is, even for the professionals. So I think with Mark, you've got an accountant and a lawyer all rolled into one who also has a PhD. So I think I listened to his webinar yesterday. So guys, what Mark is saying, he's so on it. But having said that, right, he can't handle 10,000 people right now. I don't think he can, right? So you've got to get second and third opinions, right? And the biggest thing here from like what we're going over, which blew my mind, everyone wanted to know, Mark, what was that big thing that you just dropped, which is you could have one business, and you could use the EIDL to cover your Facebook marketing, your software costs, your hardware costs, all that, and then use the payroll protection program, the PPP, very specifically can only cover, as what you're going to go over, your payroll, right? And and a lot of associated with what they call payroll costs, and there's a lot that's in there. But now you've got, and I didn't even know this till today, so Mark blew my mind. Now you've got money coming in through EIDL that covers all the stuff that PPP will not cover.
Yep. Okay, now let's get through these terms. And I love it, Howard. I'm right in line with you. So on this PPP, payroll. Now let's just say your average payroll, which could be you. Some of you out there that are a single owner agent, an employee of your own S Corp, that could be you. Now there's a lot of moving parts. People don't go. I know some of you are already swimming. I'm going to bring it down into the basics too. But for some of you that have a large payroll, or you've got your own self on payroll. So let's say your monthly payroll is 50 grand. So this ... is 50 grand. So you take 50 grand times by 2.5, I can get a loan for $125,000. Now you have to, the minute that funds, an 8-week clock starts ticking. Now this is why the government did this. They said, hey, you come to us, you fill out this application with your banker, and I'll tell you how to go through these steps. You're going to go apply for this loan. You're going to get your, in this example, 125 grand. You have 8 weeks to spend it. If you spend it on payroll, which Howard said, but it also includes rent and fixed debt obligations. So if you have another loan or some type of credit line or something, you might have some other fixed debt obligations, and I'll go ... If you spend it on that money in 8 weeks, it's forgiven. You don't pay a dime in interest.
As well.
Yeah, it's totally your money to spend. Now, some people say, well, now this is important. Some people say, well, I sent my employees home. This government plan is to say, bring them back, put them on the payroll for 2 months, try to kickstart your business. Or some of you say, well, my employees are still working. I've been grateful they're still working. Great, go use this. And the government's going to reimburse you for 2 months worth of payroll. You just got employees for free for 2 months. Now, why would the government do this? Because people, we don't know still what's coming. And if you think, well, Mark, I don't want to be a freeloader on the government. Guys, you don't know what's coming. You may need this stimulus to keep your doors open 2 months from now. And it could help you keep it open 4 months because you got 2 months of support. So use it. That's the theory here. Now, whatever you don't use in that 8 weeks turns into a loan at 0.5% this or 10-year term. We don't know some of those details, but what I want my clients to use is to use every dime for these 3 things. And here's what's cool, Howard, we were talking about. I was telling clients, if you don't use it for these 3 things, give it back. Give back the last of it. You don't have to use it. If you don't like the terms, give it back, the last piece. So let's say your average monthly payroll is 50 grand. You got 125, you spend the 100 on payroll, and then you spend 10 grand on rent. You got 15 grand left. You could pay down the loan. And now you owe nothing. People, this is free freaking money. Now, I want to get into a strategy here. Now, this is going to be deep. And
Mark,
we're going to go back to those other.
There's a big question here.
Okay.
The question was, what if you do member distributions, not payroll? This is a question I get all the time, right? So there are LLCs that do guaranteed payments versus W-2. There are folks who do profit distributions, like there's folks paying themselves, right? We got to talk about the $100,000 cap. Got to talk about that. Boom.
Okay. All right. Now let's just go back in time to 2 months ago when the world made sense. All right. What I've been teaching realtors and brokers, dentists, doctors, engineers, accountants, plumbers, electricians, landscapers for 20 years. And I have never had a client audited for this strategy. And I stand behind it on every one of my tax returns. Josh Zollinger, a good client of mine and friend, he's seen me doing this for 10 plus years. Let me tell you what the real rules and laws are and how a realtor should generally be organized. You're going to have an S Corp. That is your primary business. Now, it could be an LLC taxed as an S Corp. Now, some of you might have a little sole proprietor because you're getting started, or you might have a little LLC and you're getting started. But once you're making more than 50 grand a year net, that's our break-even point, sometimes even 40 grand net. You're going to move to an S Corp. And let me tell you why. Because any of this money you make, you're paying self-employment tax. Now, this is going to play into the stimulus package, people, in a big way. So you've got self-employment tax coming out of your ears. And what does your accountant say? What does Mark Kohler say? Convert to an S Corp. So you take your LLC and turn it into an S Corp. Now, when you make that same 50 grand, it might be 60 grand net. You might be bringing in 60 grand gross, 20 grand in expenses, and you net 40. I'm going to go 50 because I want to use that example, 50 grand. So I net 50 grand. You're going to take part payroll and part distribution. That's the K1. That's the pass-through deduction that we get now, the 20% pass-through deduction. So we split this into part W-2 and part K1. And Howard, I'm going to say it now, and I will debate anyone inside and outside the Internal Revenue Code. You cannot do this with an LLC. You cannot do this with guaranteed payments. The IRS does not allow it. Enjoy the audit. But if you take your LLC and convert it to an S Corp and kick out a W-2 and do a K1, that's the proper method. Now, I know some of you watching are like, well, my accountant says I can just do a guaranteed payment and pay my self-employed. Okay, just get it in writing from your accountant that if you get audited, they pay the penalties and interest if you lose. That's all I say. But I stand behind this, and I've never had a client audited for this. Now, why this matters is because whatever this W-2 is, over the last year, you're going to divide that by 12, and then that's going to be your monthly payroll. So we'll just say monthly payroll, and then you're going to take that and divide and times it by 2.5. And then that's what the PPP loan you get. Now,
so
here's the guaranteed
payment. Mark, the guaranteed payments, you cannot include that in payroll, in the umbrella payroll costs.
It's got to be on a W-2 941.
Got it.
A guaranteed payment only exists in an LLC. They don't exist in an S corp, and accountants have been trying to shoehorn that in for years. And I apologize, people, we're digressing to some basic tax principles for realtors and agents and brokers. But just one last point. Let's say here's the brokerage. Each realtor gets their 1099 in their own S corp, or I have realtors that own the brokerage. The brokerage is an LLC. There can be guaranteed payments out of that. We're going to zero out the LLC, but everybody gets their money in an S corp. Then we do our W-2 split. That's every dental partnership, doctor partnership, law partnership, brokerage, land development. Everybody is their own S corp, and we do the split.
Mark, can you step over aside a little bit? Some people are saying for the board. There we go.
Sorry. Guys, sorry about that. Okay, so here's the brokerage, and every partner is an S corp. And then we do our W-2. So if Josh Zollinger and I decide to go do a little development, we're going to form an LLC, and my S corp is going to be a partner with his S corp. And in this LLC, we'll take it, and then my S corp will be here, his S corp will be here, and then I'll be like 70% and he'd be 30. That's how I do it. Okay, now that was a joke. Okay, so anyway, as we do our S corps, he can write off all of his expenses, I'll write off all of mine, and I do my W-2. Now, why this matters again is this W-2, divide it by 12, multiply it by 2.5, and that's going to be your PPP loan. Now, the strategy I was talking about a minute ago is over here, you may have your S corp, and then over here is your LLC. Your LLC has a rental. Your S corp is going to go get the PPP. I'm going to go over here with my LLC and get the EIDL.
Got it.
Because my tenants may not be paying rent. And so now I can get 10 grand plus a loan here to maybe even pay down some mortgage. I don't know. And I can be doing an EIDL loan here and a PPP here, because this is based on the W-2. This is an LLC with its own EIN. A rental property is a business. I can go apply for the EIDL there.
But Mark, if you have just one LLC or just one S corp, you're still saying you could do both a PPP and an EIDL in the one entity.
No. See, this is again back to Mark Kohler basics, and I hope to come back on your show when the dust settles a little bit. Yep. When I have my realtors set up over years and years of training and planning, we're going to have an S corp for operations, and we're going to have an LLC for holdings. And I want a wall between the two. So I have asset protection over here, and I have a self-employment tax savings over here. So when I do my S corp, I'm going to kick out a W-2 and a K-1, and that's where my payroll is. And I'm going to save on self-employment tax. Because see, back to that example, in a sole prop, I'm paying self-employment tax of 15% on everything. In an S corp, I only pay the self-employment tax on the W-2. So I kick out this distribution at the end, and I get a 20% deduction and no self-employment tax, no corporate tax, no Obamacare. S corps are the cat's meow for every agent, realtor, contractor. And now under the stimulus package, you can go get the PPP under your S corp for the payroll to pay yourself and have it forgiven.
So question mark, for the W-2, I know that that's included, but what about if you're paying some of your employees as 1099s? What happens then?
Okay, 1099 subs are not included in the calculation. Now that's where the EIDL may come in. You may say, well, I'm going to use the EIDL loan to come over here and handle operations and marketing and 1099 payments to subcontractors. But the payroll protection program is the very word it says, payroll protection program. We want to kickstart the economy with employees getting back to work or staying at work.
Hey, Mark, Denise asks, what if I am an LLC and don't have an S corp? Can I still apply for both a PPP and an EIDL?
Okay, yes, you can. Now, here's the tricky part. And the bill said that the basic entrepreneur, even an Uber driver, can do this and even get unemployment, which we're going to have to talk about. So let's say you're a sole proprietor and you made 50 grand net, and you paid self-employment tax out the rear end. Now, this is interesting, Howard. That's a great question because, in fact, this is very interesting.
Denise is an LLC, she said.
Fine. Denise, an LLC is a sole proprietor. An LLC is going to be on your Schedule C as in Charlie on your tax return. And I hate to say this, people, this is so important. And if there's another major takeaway today, LLCs do not save taxes. I'll repeat that. LLCs do not save taxes. If your accountant's selling you that, they better be standing behind it if you get audited. But an LLC taxed as an S Corp or a PC or an Inc. can save on self-employment tax, not LLCs. So Denise, if you're an LLC, was it Denise?
Denise, yeah.
Yep. So Denise, if she's an LLC, she's taxed as a sole proprietor, she made 50 grand. And Howard, this is interesting because Denise might be off in a better boat on this situation. She's paying 15.3% on this, 15.3%, sorry,
Can we see
on all of her money here. So that's not good, Denise. But over here, Howard made the same 50 grand, but he did a W-2 and a K-1. And he only paid 15.3% on the W-2. So you paid $7,500 in self-employment tax, but over here, Howard paid half that because he only had to pay FICA, the F word, FICA. He only had to pay FICA on the W-2. So now, listen, when Denise goes to get the PPP plan, that's her salary. That's really what it is. That's her net income. So her 50 grand divided by 12 times 2.5 is her loan, while Howard's is 25 grand divided by 12 times 2.5. So last year, you would have paid a lot more in taxes, Denise, and I want to get you out of that structure. This is the one time when the stars align in the universe where your PPP would probably be more than Howard's because he's crammed down his W-2.
But again, her original question was, she is an LLC, she is who she is right now. Can she get both the EIDL to cover certain expenses and the PPP to cover payroll?
Yes.
Got it. We should probably get to unemployment insurance to cover all the ages.
Yeah, I was going to say unemployment.
Okay, now, and let's do this for a minute. Everybody take a breath. Stretch your arms up just for a minute.
Come on, Howard, you too.
Okay, yep. Now, I know my brain moves at a weird speed, and I'm a dork and I geek out on this. So everybody, you just stretch, take a breath. Let's just summarize where we're at now. There's some money out there that you can get to cover the payroll for you or for all your employees. So for you brokers out there, in our law firm, we went for the PPP immediately. Then in some other businesses, now I know this was some of the questions that Tristan alluded to. If you have multiple businesses, you're allowed to apply for multiple loans under those EINs. But I cannot have everything in one entity and start getting 10 different loans. I can do the EIDL and I can do the PPP like Denise asked, but I might have multiple businesses. So up here in the LLC, I applied for the PPP, but down in my S Corp, I did the EIDL. And so I could use this to consolidate debt and I can use this for payroll. Or I can even have a rental property and go get an EIDL over here and get my 10 grand to help cover rent. Just a thought. So you've got it. Now, okay, so everybody, I would recommend all of you go out and get on the website to apply for the EIDL disaster loan. See if you get the 10 grand. If you don't get it, don't be a hater. You tried. I'm trying. If you get the 10 grand and you apply for a little bit more money and start uploading your documents, you do it all through the SBA website. With the PPP, you have to go to a banker. So what I'm recommending is you go to your normal banker that has a relationship with you. I've had clients go to their banks, new banks, and they're like, we're too busy. We're only helping our own clients. So if you need to go to a new bank, but try to go to your current bank or credit union or local bank. Those are going to be a little more friendly. I think the Wells Fargos, the US banks, and the Chases, they're hammered. So go to your local bank and say, I want to apply for the PPP. Now the tentative application is out. You can Google it and get it. Start working on it. Start pulling your records together. You want to be first in line with your crap together. And then just go into the bank and apply for the PPP. If you are, we're going to come to an overall strategic planning here in a bit. But if you're going to apply, get to the bank and do it. The EIDL loan, you just do online through the SBA website. You can be doing both simultaneously. Now,
okay. What about C Corp? What do you do with that?
same thing. A C Corp, a sole proprietor, an LLC, an S Corp, you can all do it.
Awesome.
Okay, now let's do this. Now I'm going to blow your mind. You may go, well, Mark, that's it, right? Oh, no. Okay, I want to throw unemployment in the mix.
Okay.
Okay, now why would I do that? Because if you're running your business, by definition, you're employed. You've got to take a W-2 if you're an S Corp or a C Corp. And if you're a sole proprietor, you can't claim unemployment if you're making money, because you're making money. So some of you, and I won't ask those on the call unless they want to volunteer it, but I'll volunteer. In my S Corp, now remember, left side, right side. I got my S Corp here. I've got my rental over here. Oh, I've got to come back to another strategy too in a minute. I'll get through unemployment first. Hey, Josh, will you remind me to talk about owning your own building and leasing it to yourself? That's a big strategy. Okay, so I've got my S Corp. Do you put your spouse on payroll? For years, I've told people, if your spouse helps out in the business, just give them a draw. They're part of the draw. Don't pay FICA, the F word, on paying your spouse. The only time I pay my spouse is if I want to fund a 401k. Now we're going to come to the 401k in this conversation too, because we might need some immediate cash in your solo 401ks. And a lot of agents have the solo 401k because you can match the crap out of it being the only employee. So you've got your 401k over here, you've got your S Corp. I'm taking my W-2 and my wife, Jennifer. Oh, I put my wife, Jennifer on payroll last year so we can fund the 401k. Now I'm ready right now. It's the first day of April. I've got to decide, am I going to put my spouse on payroll for the first quarter, Q1 of 2020? If my wife shows that she was on payroll in fourth quarter, that's fourth quarter of 2019, and first quarter of 2020, she can claim unemployment in most states. So now I fire my wife, she goes collects unemployment, I get the PPP for me and my employees. Now let's talk numbers on unemployment. Unemployment can be from anywhere from 200 to 550 at the state level. That you get that now, it's been extended to 26 weeks. Then you can go, the feds throw 600 on top of that for the next 12 weeks. Now I ran the math on this. Where did my math go on this? That is 12 weeks at 600 is $7,200. And if I got the maximum 550 at 26 weeks, that's $14,300. I could get $21,500 in unemployment for my spouse that I just fired in the business. Now, I never thought I'd be an unemployment consultant, but this is pretty crazy. Do any of you have your kids on payroll? Teenagers, college students? Maybe it's time you terminate them and they sit at home for a bit. It's cheaper for you to send them home. They can't work if they're unemployed, but you could cash in on this. This is what Senator Lindsey Graham was all upset about on the House floor or the Senate floor last week. He's saying in North Carolina or South Carolina, I can't remember, you're getting $500 a month plus the $600. I'm getting $1,100 a month times 4. That's $4,400 a month. I'm making more money on unemployment than I'm making working. Why would the government do this? They're trying to stimulate the economy. We don't know how long this is going to last. Now, some of you may have an ethical problem claiming unemployment for you or your spouse or your kids. That's fine. Don't do it. But
hey, Mark, we're getting a lot of feedback right now from the audience. What they would like, I'm going to be euphemistic about this. What they would like is a future strategy session, tax strategy session with Lab Coat, when the dust settles. Everybody in the audience is really concerned, panicked, a lot of anxiety about what they should do now. So we're getting feedback. They don't really want necessarily all these pearls you're dropping about tax strategy. They want to get into, with all the programs out there, the unemployment, the federal stimulus, like all that, what can they take advantage of right now and they want to put a little bit of the sort of future tax strategy advice aside. We're just getting it from a lot of folks.
Guys, okay, I know you. You're real estate agents. I've been talking to you for 20 years. I know you in your heart. All you want me to do is tell you to do 3 things, and you make 3 phone calls and you're done because you hate this stuff. I know you. Am I right? You hate doing bookkeeping. I know Josh down here. I've done this with Josh before. Go do your QuickBooks tonight. There's no way he's going to do it. Guys, I'm gonna be blunt here, Howard, and to tell everybody, buck up. You have got to know this enough to direct your professionals. Now, I will say this, my tax attorneys, we do a stimulus package consult. We've been doing them all for the last 3 weeks, helping clients get through this. For an hour's time, you can meet with one of my tax attorneys. They're going to apply your situation to 7 different strategies and figure out what you should do tomorrow. But you've got to be engaged in the conversation. You're going to have to be able to go grab documents and make sense of it. No one's going to spoon feed this or do it for you. And you got to be fast. You got to be first in line. And I'm not talking about future tax strategies. What I was trying to explain is, for all of you that are agents out there operating as an S corp, you may already have your spouse on payroll. Well, the reason why you were doing that was for tax benefits, but now you can cash in on the stimulus because you were doing that. Now, if you didn't have your spouse on payroll, I'm moving on. I'm just taking a couple minutes on it. So everybody just relax, drink another swig of your Diet Coke or whatever you're drinking, and just realize this is a big picture. And I know
you just got 5 stars. Everybody was like, "Preach, baby, we love you. This is so important." So
okay, all right.
Everybody's digging it. They're loving it, dude.
Okay, so I'm going to put the unemployment to rest. You have to apply through the state. You can find out what you can get, and you could get the Fed. So I'm just going to leave it alone. That was strategy number 2. Number 1 is we're going to look at our loans. We're going to get going on those loans. And I'll give you right now, I'll just throw it out there. If you want to call my office, this is not an infomercial for me, but if you want to call my office, 586-9366. We are booked the rest of this week, but starting Monday, I've got consultations open with tax attorneys. It's going to be $300 for an hour, but we're going to save you 20 times that, and $300 for a lawyer that understands this is way more valuable. So if you want to consult, this is KKOS Lawyers. If you want to learn more about us, you can go to our website at kkoslawyers.com. I have a weekly newsletter, a weekly podcast, and a YouTube channel. You just Google Mark J. Kohler, and I'm telling you guys, I love real estate. I love my agents, and my podcast and shows. I've got online education that's cheap and free and easy, so much of it. So that's the end of it. No more infomercial for me. I'm just saying I'm not going anywhere. And if you can drink a little of this Kool-Aid, you're going to love it. Okay, so
Put your phone number and the website's up on the chat, so just in case anybody missed it.
Okay, good. Thanks, Tristan. Okay, number 1 was loans. Number 2 was unemployment. Now think about this. I've had agents call me and say, Mark, I'm going to fire myself. Now this is important. 2 weeks ago, I was on a podcast telling my agents, my realtor agents, fire yourself, don't do quarterly payroll, and take 3 times, and don't pay FICA in the next 3 to 4 weeks and claim unemployment. That was our strategy. That was all we had 2 weeks ago. Now with the stimulus package, I want you to be on payroll for first quarter so we can go get the PPP loan to give you free payroll for 2 months. See how it changes? You've got to stay abreast of this, people. I know it sucks and you hate taxes and you hate numbers. You're good salesmen and good saleswomen, but you've got to run your business with a little bit of this techie crap. Okay, number 3, I want to get into SBA loan forbearance. Now, this is just a quick little note. So we did loans, we did unemployment.
Mark, just a few little cleanup questions on unemployment. So many people asking about unemployment.
Yes, sir.
They seem to be like, there's a problem in Florida. They're not necessarily going to process it. Can I file for unemployment as an individual agent who has not paid into unemployment? And then there's some people who are like, well, what happens if I file for it, but then I have a residual commission check that comes in and I got some money, right? And so a lot of questions about the unemployment.
Okay. First now again, if some of you, now this is very important as I answer this, I don't want you guys to hyperfixate on an agent, broker, small business owner claiming unemployment on yourself. The only time I'm generally recommending that now is if you've had a complete wipeout in your business. That's point number one. If your business is done, you're like, I'm not going to tackle my business again for another 9 months. I need to recover emotionally, physically, spiritually. I can't do it. And for some of my clients, their business has been on life support anyway. So this coronavirus was the death nail. That doesn't mean go out and borrow from your retirement account and go borrow PPP money to keep a business alive that's dead already. Don't feel bad. Don't beat yourself up. This coronavirus was out of your control. Come back stronger and more healthy. Keep doing your study with lab coats. Get engaged, continue to prepare, and then come back stronger 2021. It's okay. But only claim unemployment if you're thrown in the towel, or claim unemployment for your spouse or children that may have been on payroll. Now, the person in Florida, every state rule is different. It may be harder to get unemployment in Florida and easier in Kentucky. It could be harder in California and easier in Washington. You have to apply through the state agency. Once you get, and now the federal law under the stimulus package says entrepreneurs get unemployment. Now, just like Howard said, the states are trying to keep up with the feds. The feds are saying, states, let everybody in. The states are like, did you hear this debate on the news? The states are saying, how in the hell are we supposed to pay for this? The fed's like, we'll take care of you. And so Trump's throwing out all this crap and the states are trying to keep up. So be patient. So if you walk into Florida and they're saying, no way, next day, call them again. The next day, call them again. Get on the web. Don't give up. So keep trying.
Mark,
Now,
what happens if you're a solo agent? You're a solo agent, work for a broker, right? You're a solo agent. You've been doing maybe one deal a month or one deal every 2 months, that kind of thing, right? And now, because of the current crisis, you feel like, hey, I may not make commission checks for 3 months or 4 months, but I'm confident that I'll go back once we go back and I'll do deals. What should that person do?
I would go get the EIDL loan, see if you can get the $10,000 immediately. That's a no-brainer. And I don't know if I'd borrow any more than that. Once you get the $10,000, to treat it as a grant and debt forgiven, you have to pay yourself with it. So follow the procedures. Make sure your accountant knows what they're doing. Our accounting firm, law firm, we're there if you don't have an accountant that can help you. And I know we only have so much capacity. We'll do the best we can. Now, on that note, take unemployment number 2. Get your EIDL, get your 10 grand.
And that 10K is forgivable, right? They're not going to have to pay that back.
You don't have to pay the 10 grand back. That's forgiven.
Love it.
Yes. So the 10 grand's free money. You can go to sba.gov/disaster, apply right now. I'm waiting for my 10 grand. I'm going to see how it happens. And I need to submit some documents, I think. I'm going to play on it tonight a little bit, watching some Netflix. Now, then.
Well, what do I think you don't need the 10K?
You know what? I know.
Okay. You want to see how it works. I got it. You want to see how it works.
I know that some of you say that, but do you know our sales are down this month by 30%? A lot of times in a small business, that 30% is your profit. I've got 65 employees. I'm trying to keep them all working. It's hard.
Mark,
and so some people say, why, Mark, you're a tax attorney, you don't need the money. Well, I'm trying to keep my employees working. Tristan, you were going to say something.
2 questions. One, what can you use the 10K for? Does it have to be specific for something?
Yes, to be forgiven, you have to use it for payroll for yourself, done, or rent for your business. Now, if you're an S Corp paying rent to yourself at your home, I'm going to use that. That's another strategy I teach down the road. Some of you don't want to hear about that. That's down the road. But for some of you that are already doing that, that's included. And then any fixed debt. So if you have any debt obligations or mortgages or payments inside your small business, which could be a car payment, all you have to do is come up with 10 grand.
Yeah, that's pretty easy. Then the next question is, there are a lot of single agents here. How can an individual agent who doesn't pay themselves, they just take the whole commission, that's how they roll, how can they use this loan and how can they work this?
Okay, now remember, by the way, I'm getting back to Howard's. He said, what are some immediate things you can do? Start with the EIDL loan and go claim unemployment if you're going to hang up the shop for another 4 months or so. And then also, if you do get a commission, you're now off unemployment. That was a question just 5 minutes ago, right? So if you're going to get unemployment and hang up the hat, you hang up your hat, you got to leave the hat hanging, because the minute you get a commission, you're no longer on unemployment.
So you've got to say, I'm all out of real estate for now for the next 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 months, right?
Well, as long as you want unemployment. And now listen, the federal $600 a week is only for 12 weeks. That's 3 months. Maybe some of you realtors are like, I'm going to take a hiatus. Look at this. You could get state and federal combined could almost be $1,000 a week. Some of you are like, I could survive on $1,000 a week because your rental property, any of you that have cash flow rentals, that doesn't count against unemployment.
Yeah.
So you get the EIDL for 10 grand, pay yourself, go get unemployment and sit back 3 months and weather the storm.
And for those of you asking questions, Howard is putting in some links as to where to go. I know Mark is throwing out some great things here, but he just put out where to go for SBA loans and for EIDL and PPP. And guys, this is being recorded, so you will be able to see a replay on our YouTube channel and on our business page. And of course, we're going to have Mark back. Mark, we get that question. We were at one point, we were over 1,000 people on this, and just on the webinar portion of this. So that's where we max out. And then obviously on Facebook too. So 2
quick questions, Mark. One is, if we're an individual agent, can we collect unemployment even though we haven't been paying into it?
Yes. Oh, that was the question. Now back to Denise. Remember Denise? She was a sole proprietor. She was a sole proprietor. Denise was a sole proprietor and Howard was an S corp. Denise uses her net income, and this goes to your question, Tristan. The people that are just out solo agents, no S corp, LLC, I don't care, but you're a sole proprietor, your net income is the figure you calculate for unemployment.
Got it. So you don't have to pay in. You don't have paid in before, but you can go do it.
Well, you're paying in because it's net income under FICA. So that, and the federal government said, you could be an Uber driver and get this. That's what they're saying. Even small business owners can get unemployment. But again, if some of you are saying, well, I'm not going to sit down for 3 months, then don't go get it. So
Mark, I'm gonna ask something that's real for a lot of agents here. Okay, so most agents haven't filed their taxes.
Okay.
And that's real. So what do they do at that point? Do they have to go back to 2018, 2017 in some cases? What?
Okay, let's go to stimulus checks. Okay, this plays into this. There's so much here. I'm trying to cover so much. I don't know if you guys want to go over an hour, but I think we probably will. Anyway, okay. Everybody take a breath. Okay, now, stimulus checks are supposed to go out in the next 3 weeks. You get $1,200 if you're single, $2,400 if you're married. $500 per kid under child tax credit rules, which means they're going to be under age 17. If you have kids over age 17 that you've been claiming, you may want them to file their 2019 tax return on their own and get their own $1,200. See, there's some strategies here, people. Some of you say, well, Mark, why am I going to pay your attorney $300 to talk about this? We're just scratching the surface, people, because I want to maximize your stimulus check. Because you may have a college age student and I want them to get their $1,200. So we file separately for your kid because now you doubled the money. As a family, you have to plan as a family unit. Now here's the point. If you haven't filed 2019, it's okay. They're going to go off your 2018 tax return. If you got a refund in 2018 and you have your bank account information with the IRS for any automatic refunds, they're going to automatically deposit your stimulus check into your bank account. It's just going to show up one day. If you do not have banking information on file with the IRS, they're going to mail you a check. Where are they going to mail it? To wherever your last tax return address was. Now, I know that freaks out some of you because you're like, my address is not current with the IRS. You can log on at irs.gov, verify who you are, and update your address. You want to make sure that stimulus check goes to you. I don't know if you can put banking information when you all log into irs.gov, but play around at irs.gov. You want to make sure the IRS knows where you're at. Now, they said, if you haven't filed 19, it's okay. We're going to go off to 18. If you haven't filed 19 or 18, you don't get a stimulus check. If you have college-age students, have them run in tonight on TurboTax or online or somewhere and file their 2019 claiming themselves, they get the $1,200. if you're paying for their college education, be careful, because I want you to get the lifetime learning credit and the other credit. So you want to make sure the other scholarship credit or education credit, just skip my mind at the moment. So this stimulus check is a big deal, and you don't have to worry about filing 2019 to get it. That's the answer, Tristan.
And there's a cap on how much people make, right?
Yes, if you're single, it starts to phase out at 75 grand, and then at 98 grand, it's gone. If you're married, it starts to phase out at 150 AGI, and then it's gone at 199.
Got it. Got it. So some agents won't even be able to do
and
this.
By the way, this was a question that was coming up too. We answered it earlier this morning. The child credit also phases out under these numbers. Some people said, well, I don't get my credit because I made too much. Do I still get my 500 per kid? Nope. So if you've got 3 kids, you're getting 1,500 plus the 24. So I'm at 39. That 3,900 starts to phase out incrementally between this number.
Got it. Got it. All right. Quick question. I have a few people on here saying while you're talking, they went to EIDL. It asked for business, legal name, trade name, and EIN or SSN for sole proprietorship. How do they figure out what they are if they're lost?
You bet. Great question, everybody. So what I did, if you're a formal entity, that's going to be the applicant, not your trade name. So you might be Mark J. Kohler, Inc. All these guys have S Corps too. And so you put in your corporate name or your LLC name. Then you're going to put in the tax ID number of your LLC or corporation. If you don't have a tax ID number, don't go apply for one, because the IRS is going to say, oh, you just started a business. See, you're in business. So if you're an LLC operating under your social, put in your social security number. The trade name can be whatever the hell you want. I don't know. What do you market yourself as? I just put in Mark Kohler as my trade name. So don't worry about the trade name. It does not have to be a formal DBA. It's going to ask for gross sales for last year, and it's going to ask for cost of goods sold. You can kind of ballpark a number of cost of goods sold. Maybe it's the kind of your average cost to go out and do business, not your fixed cost. They don't ask for net income. I wouldn't stress about it. Just get the application in. You're going to have to upload some other documents once you get your application number.
Mark, really fun, interesting question here. Can a husband and wife each apply for EIDL if they are independent contractors in separate industries?
Yes, if they have a separate tax ID number. See, a lot of times, and this is future tax planning, I want Howard and his wife to own the same corporation, and because I want to be efficient with payroll and bookkeeping and tax strategies. And so I have one corporation in my life. And so I'm going to run law through it, accounting, books, hair and nails, drywall, because I do drywall on the weekends if you need me. So anyway, so I'm doing all this in my S Corp. Now, if you're married and a husband has his corporation and a wife has her corporation, now I see this a lot in real estate where one is a mortgage lender and one is a realtor. And for a lot of rules out there under state real estate laws, these have to be separate, because on a REPC or on a HUD, you got to pay separate companies. I get it. So they could go get their own EIDLs, and frankly, they could get their own PPPs. But that's assuming wife has a W-2 and husband has a W-2.
So they're both sole proprietors. Theoretically, they can both get their own EIDLs.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
All right, question. Here's another real question for you, Mark. A lot of agents are behind on paying taxes, right? They filed it, but they're late by thousands. How does that affect this whole process?
What we've been seeing is the IRS and the Fed has promised that if you're due a stimulus, but you owe the IRS, they're not going to hijack it and take it because they want to stimulate the economy. Now, everybody, I'm going to kind of give you a little bad news here. This stimulus check is not taxable. It's you don't have to claim it as income. But you know what it really is? It's an advance on your taxes. It's a tax credit advance for what you owe in 2020. So in 2020, if you were going to get a $2,400 refund, it's now zero. You just got your refund. This is not, I know it sucks. So this is an advance payment of what you might owe in taxes at the end of 2020. So if you have an old debt to the IRS, our understanding is you're going to get the stimulus check, but it's going to be a credit against what you owe at the end of this year.
Mark, a question you got yesterday on yesterday's webinar, and you're getting it today again, and a lot of people are really confused because they're agents, they're sole proprietors, they're real estate agents, they're not, financial people, right? But they get hung up on that line that asks, what are their cost of goods sold? What are their COGS? What are you going to tell a typical solo agent to do there?
What I would do, and that's a great question, everybody. It's tricky. I just kind of ballpark mine. Let me tell everybody what cost of goods sold is. That's like a restaurant. That's the food cost and your servers and your workers. But it's not the office rent or the building rent and fixed cost. So what I would do is you're going to put your gross income at the top, and then your cost of goods sold would be things like marketing, supplies, equipment. I mean, just kind of maybe your cell phone, just kind of ballpark. If you're a realtor and you bring in 150 grand last year and you probably spent 20 on stuff like this, put that down as your cost of goods sold. Then that means you netted 130 as gross profit. And then maybe take off auto, home office, the kids, blah, 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 blah. And then you come up with your net. So I think cost of goods sold, don't stress people, just kind of ballpark marketing, supplies, cell phone, maybe throw in your auto, just kind of guess at it. You're good.
Okay, so the big takeaway is don't stress about it. Do those 3 things you got on the board. That's it. Okay. Move on. No one's going to bust you on it.
Yeah. Now I want to give you an important strategy here, everybody. And I know some of you feel a little confused. So just take another breath and let me try to say this. You need money. You've got to survive. You want to get a consultation with your accountant, lawyer, banker, start gathering a little bit of data. I want to make it as simple as for my clients as I can. Get on a phone call for an hour and try to craft that. You're going to probably apply for the EIDL loan, maybe unemployment, or maybe PPP. See the difference there? I want you to get the EIDL loan going and get the 10 grand immediately. Then we're going to say, are you all done for 3 months? Are you going to claim unemployment? Or do you have other employees? Are you going to go for the PPP? It's really going to be one or the other. Then I'm going to ask, do you have a spouse or kids on payroll? Should they claim unemployment? Then I was going to get into sick leave. You could put your spouse on sick leave and give him or her a check and write that off and get reimbursed by the government. You can put your spouse, if you're married. Now I know some of you are single out there, don't be upset, but you could put your spouse on family medical leave for 12 weeks, paid up to $200 a day, up to 10 grand, and the government reimburses you. There's a lot of free money in this. Now I've got other articles and little things coming up. We could talk about it for a minute. But see, if you do the PPP, that's a loan that you're going to use within 8 weeks. But if you have family, you might do some of these other strategies, or you're going to even put yourself on unemployment. Now I want to throw out a major point here of strategy. This was number 7 on my list. Some of you need money right now, and you're freaking out. You're afraid you're going to screw up your credit. You got to buy groceries this weekend. You may not have money for gas in the car. You're embarrassed and you're scared and frustrated. I know it's hard out there. One way you can get money immediately is from your retirement account. Now this is dangerous because I don't want clients draining their 401k or IRA. But what you can do, now let's think through this. If you have your business entity, let's say it's an S Corp, you're doing the PPP, you're doing the EIDL, and you're waiting. I don't know when you're going to get your money. It could be 3 weeks from now or more. You can go over to your 401k and you can do one of 2 things. You can immediately borrow up to 100 grand. It used to be a 50,000 limit. You can borrow up to 100, or you can even take a distribution of 100. Oh, sorry, people. You can even take a distribution of 100, and that includes IRAs and SEPs and Roths. And you could use that immediately, no penalty, no tax. Then when the PPP or EIDL loan comes out, what do? You don't pay off this loan out of the company. You pay yourself payroll. You get the debt forgiven and you use your payroll to pay back the retirement account. So the retirement account can be a short-term fix to get you through the next 3 weeks. And then when these loans come through, we can use the loans to pay back the retirement account. If you can't pay back the retirement account, you have 3 years to do it, by the way. Then you have to pay the tax on it over 3 years. No penalty. This is huge. There's $3 trillion in retirement accounts. Some of you may have a retirement account you can tap into. Thoughts or comments? That's a short-term fix until this loan money comes out.
Mark, I'm putting your phone number here because there's no way we can field these. Dude, we've had over 1,000 questions.
It's absolutely crazy, and I'm wondering. Yeah, there's so many particular questions.
Okay, let me promise you all this. Okay, everybody, listen up. I have literally been working on an article for 3 days, and every time I get home, something else changes, and I'm like, I've been working on this FAQ and article of all these 7 topics. I will finish it tonight. I will post it on my blog by midnight. You go to markjkohler.com. I know you guys can write that down in there. Mark, J as in Jolly, Kohler, Kohler.com. Tonight, all I want you to do is apply for the EIDL, start looking at your records, gathering your thoughts. If some of you want to call the office today or tomorrow and schedule a call next week, it wouldn't hurt too. But I will have that article in the morning, and it will go through these 7 topics so that you can kind of refresh yourself. This is also recorded. That may help a lot of you that are a little frustrated.
When you're done with it, can you just text me the link? I'll post it to the top of Lab Coats and I'll send it through our newsletter as well.
Thank you. Absolutely,
We've
Tristan.
got 80,000 people in our newsletter, so we want to make sure that gets through. One question that is important that everybody is asking: if they apply, real estate agents apply for EIDL and get the 10,000 and they use it for expenses, can they also still have closings in the next 90 days, or do they just have to lay low?
Oh, no. You people, if you're getting the EIDL loan and or the PPP loan, you're in business. Exactly. Go make money. You use every strategy Lab Coats is giving you to go out and generate business and get going and get out there.
I think it was confused with unemployment. I think that's what it was.
All right, so let's compare that, people. Okay, let's just say there's 2. I think there's 2 big options. Option 1, some of you that are solo agents, and you might be hanging up the towel, the hat, the towel, whatever, you're throwing it in for 3 months, and you're gonna weather the storm. You would still go get the EIDL, get the 10 grand, and go claim unemployment, if possible. And you've gotta look at the rules in your state. Even if you're just an LLC sole prop, learn what the rules are and go for it. Number 2, for those of you that are like, Mark, we're still making a little money, I'm gonna hang in there, we're gonna do it. You're gonna do the EIDL and the PPP, and you're gonna go out and make money. I don't want you hiding out. You're out there hitting it. And you might claim unemployment on a family member. You might do medical leave. You might do FMLA. And in the short run, until you get this money, you might even draw out of your 401k to make ends meet. I'm Mark, I'm gonna go for it for the next 6 months and try to hold this thing together. That's option 2. Option 1 is I'm gonna hang up my hat, claim unemployment, hit the EIDL, pay myself 10 grand, get it forgiven, and I'm gonna just come back up for air in 3 months and see if I can make a go of this. Does that help?
That does. Definitely.
Okay, now here's another strategy. Josh, I know you were gonna remind me. There's a lot of more successful agents out there.
Good job, Josh.
And how are they structured? Thanks, Josh. I was looking at you. I knew you were looking at me. Evil eyes. Some of you are an S Corp doing your salary dividend split, the K1, and you have an LLC with a building, and you rent the building to yourself. As my realtor brokers get more and more successful, that's something I'm suggesting. One of the best tenants can be you. So when we rebound and we all get back to normal in a few months or year or whatever it's going to take, this is going to be a long-term strategy. Well, now here, Howard, you're going to love this. If I go get the PPP and I do my 2.5, to get it forgiven, I do payroll, fixed debt obligations, and rent. Oh, well, if I pay rent to myself, then I have not been damaged over here by the coronavirus. So I can't go get the EIDL over here because I have to show my tenant's not paying rent, or I've been, and you can even show the anticipation or concern that rent may not be paid. So I can't go get an EIDL over here if I continue to pay rent to myself. So you have to say, ooh, can I chew up this PPP with other expenses or give it back and get the 10 grand over here and get that 3.75% loan and maybe do some debt consolidation or improvements to the rental? That's what people did. If you were in a hurricane in Florida, that's what you got the EIDL for. It was to repair your business. But do you need to repair your business due to coronavirus? Maybe. So we've got to look at this interplay, because there's another strategy out here. I've just got to float it.
I think it's also important to something you brought up earlier, Mark, but it's important to remind everybody in the audience, one of the big differences between the EIDL and the PPP above the 10,000 is on the EIDL, right? And Mark, you're the expert, so you confirm it. Up to the 2 million, there is a personal guarantee if you own more than 20% of the entity. Whereas on the PPP, we know that a lot of it is going to, if not all of it, is going to get forgiven.
Okay, yes and no.
There's no personal guarantee on the PPP.
There's no personal guarantee on the first 200 grand.
Right, of EIDL, yep.
Okay, I'm not going to borrow more than 200 grand.
Got it.
Okay, now this strategy is really important because some of you, now that I've got to get this out there because I had some clients blown away with this over the weekend. If you already have an SBA loan, some of you might, an SBA loan for your building, a commercial building that you're renting, I don't know. If you have an SBA loan, a 704, a 50, 7A, 504, you might have several different types of SBA loans out there. Right now, you can apply for a 6-month forbearance. The government has told all SBA guaranteed lenders to contact their clients, us, the borrowers, and you can apply for 6 months, and the government will make your payment, including principal and interest, for 6 months, the end. It doesn't affect your credit. You don't have to pay it back. Basically, you're getting a payment forgiveness for 6 months, and your mortgage actually goes down because the government pays your mortgage over those 6 months. I've got an SBA loan on a commercial building. I may do this over there on that building. See, people, this is so important because in your network of clients, your family, you may go, oh my gosh, my dad has a rental property. I'm going to go help him out. Or, oh, my mom has a catering business. She could use this. Or, oh my gosh, I've got rentals. See, this is, just don't get in a tunnel here. There's a lot in this stimulus package to help small business owners. And many of you, that's your network. Talk about this. Go out and help your network. Do you think you're going to get more business from them 3 months from now when the dust clears and they go, you know what? Tom helped me out. He looked out for me. So you can be a voice of reason and calmness and help people understand this package.
Well, this is why it's important to just sit back and listen to what you're saying too, because some people are like, well, this doesn't apply to me. Yeah, but does it apply to the people you're helping?
Yeah.
Right? That's super key. Look, I put up Mark's number again up there. People are saying, how do we get a hold of you? Mark, can you just go over that really quick again?
Yeah, I'd say it. Thank you, everybody. So we have an accounting firm and law firm. We help clients nationwide. And we have 4 offices, Southern California, Phoenix, Idaho, and Utah, which doesn't matter because half the time my phone calls are to Hawaii or Connecticut or Florida. But we help clients nationwide. I've got 5 attorneys. We're not a huge firm. We're just a Main Street firm like everyone else, but we've helped clients nationwide. I've got 5 tax attorneys that you can schedule for an hour to apply your scenario to these 6 or 7 strategies and what might be best to you. We'll put together a little plan in that hour. You may want a little more time to dig deep, but schedule an hour. We're normally $350 an hour for an attorney. We're cutting that cost by $50 during this crazy time. And I apologize, we're trying to keep the doors open too. But for $300, you can get a plan, and we want to get you as much cash as we can implementing any of these strategies, you can call the office and schedule time. We've got times available starting on Monday. This next 3 to 4 days, you can do more research, more study, apply for the EIDL, and we're there for you. We may have some time available in the next couple of days. We're busy trying to help clients, but if we're too busy or we can't help you, go see your accountant, go see your lawyer, go see your banker, and take this advice with you, and you are the captain of your own ship. I love that Howard has become a little geek on this. That's great. Because Howard's going to get, who do you think is going to get the best service, Josh or Howard? I mean, Howard's got, and I'm not dissing on Josh, but I'm just saying, if you can educate yourself on this, when someone gives you crap, you can go, not rudely, you can go, I'm not sure, I'm going to get another opinion. Don't take it as gospel.
Part of the, why did I all of a sudden start geeking out on this? We're all about geeking out on Google marketing and, and Facebook marketing and remarketing and all the digital marketing tech stuff that Tristan and I, geek out on. That's what we geek out on. Why was I geeking out on this? Because we have 1,500 teams representing 15,000 agents across North America. And anything we can do to bring in an expert like yourself, which is why Tristan is such an amazing leader of the biggest Facebook community of realtors in the whole country, to bring in someone like yourself to try to help everybody who's got all these questions. If there's anything we can do to help our community of realtors who range from solo agents to teams of 2 to 3, to teams of 30, to teams of 300, to independent brokers, this is why we are trying to just edify ourselves. And there's so much misinformation. So I just want to take time out for a second. And Mark, the whole community, the whole Labco community, right, Tristan, we just want to thank you for giving of your time. It's just,
Dude, we love you, bro.
Amazing, man. Really amazing.
So much.
And you know what? We're Howard and I and Nick are interviewing the NAR president on Friday. So what you're telling us is really giving us some great ammunition to be able to ask better questions. So that's why it's awesome that we'll have you back on in a couple of weeks or maybe sooner, because this thing's changing like every day.
Yeah. No, it'd be an honor. Thank you so much for having me. And I'm holding my podcast just regularly, so people, you can go get a little more information at refreshyourwealth.com. Refreshyourwealth.com or on Stitcher or iTunes, and check that out. But you guys are awesome. You do such a good job with your agents. And the National Association of Realtors, I consider the most powerful lobby in America. They got you guys that 20% pass-through deduction, while all the lawyers and the accountants and the engineers and the doctors, we took it in the shorts. You realtors, that NAR is worth paying your dues to, because they make you money.
You're gonna explode us now, man. Now we got a whole nother webinar.
That's brilliant, actually, that you bring that up. So guys, sign up for the webinar. Put up the link there, because as you pay attention to the president of NAR and what they do, and the lobbyists at Capitol Hill, you can bring some of that information and apply it to what Mark is telling you to do. We're just giving you so much info so you can use it and actually go through this whole time. We can steer you through it better. So call Mark, number one, sign up for the webinar, and then just stay tuned.
Yeah. And can I say one last thing in closing? And first of all, thank you so much for your kind words. Josh, I didn't get to hear from you much at all, but I love you, man.
He was taking notes.
People want to hear from you, not me.
I wanted to say this, everybody. Hasn't this been a wake-up call? It's been a great opportunity to sit back and go, how can I be better prepared next time? Because guys, we're in a crazy world where we know it's going to happen next time. And it may not be, across the country, but it could be in your local area or region. Are we prepared with enough financial resources and depth? Are we buying investments that can help weather the storm if we solely focus on commissions? Are we building that investment side of our business carefully and wisely? Are we living conservatively? Do we have enough toilet paper in the house? I mean, how's our food storage? How are we doing emotionally and spiritually and health-wise? So I just want to tell everybody, we're all doing that self-evaluation. Don't give up. The American dream's here. We're going to bounce back, and real estate is the best industry in the country. And I'm not even licensed, and I love you guys. So thanks for having me, guys.
Two things. So overwhelmingly in the chat, everybody was like, amazing, amazing, amazing. And thank you to Mark. And there was one comment, and the comment was just, I'm very overwhelmed right now. And I think that a lot of us are feeling very overwhelmed right now. So with that last kind of question, comment, Mark, leave us with something.
Okay, something I do, and this is funny you asked that. I just got chills. I'm kind of trying to be a spiritual guy too. Right sitting over here on my desk. This is funny you say that. I didn't plan on sharing this. This is my 2020 strategic plan. I do a calendar every year, and I write down what are my plans for the year, and I modify them every month. I have a little board of advisors. Now, this can be a big help to many of you. I'll just give you this challenge. Find 3 to 5 people that believe in you, don't tear you down, obviously not family, and go to get 3 to 5 people that love you and will support you. Sit back during this time of reflection and go, what would I have done differently? How can I do 2020 better? Sit down and write down your 2020 plan, and then get those 3 people, if you're quarantined, get them on a Zoom call and say, I want to share my plan with you guys. Young or old, male or female, family or not, and say, what do you think? And a lot of people are going to be there to give you critical advice, but in a loving way. And you can modify your plan. So when you come out of this, you're going to come out stronger. And we're all feeling the pressure. Man, I've worked 80-hour weeks the last 3 weeks, and I'm scared to death. I'm very, very nervous, but I'm not giving up. And so write your plan, modify it, build your own little board of advisors, board of directors, which is a great tax write-off down the road down in Cabo, but we'll worry about that another day. And I think that'll help you out a lot.
You hear that, Howard? Cabo, write it off.
Yeah. I think my 2 cents is, we all have to have perspective. And what I tell everybody, because people are like, oh, what's it like being quarantined and this and that and your business and all that. If you are not, and I'm just going to sound corny, but if you are not in an intensive care unit on a ventilator right now, right, everything else is a blessing. And if your family is healthy, everything else a blessing. All this stuff, money, right? And we're in a tough time, and we're going to zip out of this. I'm telling you, like I've watched it. Like as a real estate community, we're going to be ones of the first out of it. But this is important, and I would say, like my takeaway is like I'm going to call Mark. What I'm seeing on the chat is that we've literally taken down your website and your phone lines.
Dude, it's down. Everything is down. I said down. 30 minutes.
But also like I'm gonna work with Mark for the short term here. Give his staff my situation. So that's going to make me feel better, and they're going to answer my particular questions, guys, because we couldn't answer all the questions today. But also, I'm going to make a note. What Mark's trying to say here is, guys, we're going to help you get through this one, but then there's some tax planning stuff in the future, right? When it all settles down, and that's important as well. But everyone, take a breath, put it in perspective, stay healthy, right? Stay.
Yeah, and you know what? Goonies never say die. I'm just telling you.
Right.
Right. So, guys, thank you so much. Going back to what Mark Kohler said at the very beginning, he said, use this time to become the expert. Just listen to what Mark, to what Howard, to what Josh say, because this is the information you can go back and then use and become that professional so that people look back and say, wow, this agent really helped me through this time. He wasn't asking for us to list a home. He wasn't asking for us to buy. He just gave us great information. And now you're seen as a professional, which is what Mark's pushing you for.
Yeah,
so,
and I'll end with another positive thing here, Tristan. When we're going to talk about this a lot on Friday on our webinar, our LCA webinar on Friday, which is our mantra here has been cultivate today, conquer tomorrow. You're not going to conquer today, right? Cultivate today, conquer tomorrow, which means we have seen statistically and anecdotally, everybody's home, everybody's online. The consumers, potential long-term buyers and sellers are chattier than ever. Don't try to sell them. Develop a relationship. Ask them questions. Care about them. See if there's something you can do for them, okay? If the conversation never even goes into real estate, you're still you're cultivating a relationship. In the future, I am telling you, I've looked at the numbers. Tristan will tell you, I'm a numbers geek, okay? We are going to have 1 million or more pent-up transactions. We are going to go nuts as an industry. Yeah. Lay, fertilize, cultivate, nurture the relationships now, and your plate will be really, really full once we come out of it. In the meantime, Call Mark.
Mark, one more time, your website. We still have 600 people watching here and another 300 on Facebook. So just.
Oh, thank you. Probably the best website to start consuming and gathering and reading some of my articles on this and tomorrow, and you can get to the law firm and accounting from there, is markjkohler.com. And the law firm specifically is kkoslawyers.com. I've got a free weekly newsletter I've been doing for 10 years. And if you sign up for the newsletter, I've got a little ebook for free, 30-page, 10 ways to succeed as an entrepreneur. And from there, you can say, contact me for an appointment. And here, I would say this too, start taking action. But if you can't get an appointment with our office or a professional for a week or 5 or 6 days, that's okay. Trump is saying April 30th, and he's the most aggressive out there. We've got 4 weeks of this, people. So there's plenty of time to get a plan in place, and I'll do my best. And hopefully, maybe I'll be back next week, and we'll do a little part 2. See how it goes. Whatever you guys want.
Let's get you on more often until this thing kind of eases out, so we get all of the pertinent information to everybody quicker. And then we'll obviously have Josh and Howard on because we need them here. So thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, everybody.
Appreciate it, Mark.